Hello and good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this new Saturday night live stream. I hope you're all enjoying this lovely Monaco weekend. I am so far. Although qualifying could have gone better for my favorite driver, Max Verstappen. I'm not gonna lie. Okay, let's turn this screen on. Hello, everybody. Here we go. I have a new t-shirt. Verstappen. Andere kant. Verstappen. It was cheap. Hello, Polish Eddie. Hello, Tanveer. Hello, Eva. Hello, Samantha. Sorry about earlier, honey. I was just grumpy. I'm okay now. So how's everybody doing? The weather here in the Netherlands, it was warm all week, but the last 2 days have been cold again and rainy. But it was good. It was good for the plants. You know, we've got these peonies in the front garden and hydrangeas, and they definitely needed a bit of water. So in that sense, it was good. Yeah, and for the rest, I haven't got much to tell about private life, but plenty to talk about with the Formula One. I was very happy to have landed Tomo and Law VS for my battle podcast, the one I promised last week. And last week on purpose, I left out that Alex Albon was going to be represented by Tomo in case he cancelled or something. But he didn't. We recorded it on Thursday night, and I edited it on Thursday afternoon, and Friday afternoon I could. Volume's a bit low. Is it better? It was on a bit low in the I hope this is better. I turned the button up a bit. Yeah, so I was really happy to have landed Tomo for this podcast, and yeah, that hour and a half just flew by talking about Alex Albon and Carlos Sainz. Now, if there's people that haven't seen it yet, please check it out, because the last battle podcast was my first podcast to hit 1,000 views, and I was thinking this time with Tomo, which is a much bigger creator, it should do better, you know. So Polish Eddie says, I live in a valley between two mountains, so it's windy 6 days out of the week. It's crazy here. But when it rains for like 2 days straight. I hope you have a fireplace. You know, you can cuddle up on a bear skin. But mountains, that sounds really cool. So do you have like wild animals around you, Polish Eddie? Like lynx and what do you call them? Mountain lions, bears. You got bears? Yeah, that's what the button is for. The volume button. It's a very astute assumption here. So what was I on about? Oh yeah, the podcast with Tomo and Law VS. And yeah, I have more ideas, you know, but I'm not going to tell them yet because I want to get the people involved first. But yeah, I think I can do another few versions, and hopefully I'll catch on and attract a lot more views, because that's what we want. I thought it was an hour and a half well spent listening to my own podcast. I was very nervous, so I had to edit the intro quite a lot. That's why you don't see my face in certain bits, because I had to copy and paste different bits just to make it sort of make sense, because I was super nervous. Super nervous. Foxes and deer, and I heard there were bears in the area sometimes. You smell a skunk. Oh yeah, town bears from India. Okay, so you don't have any elephants or tigers? I own 11 chickens, and there are 2 donkeys and 2 bulls across the street, so it's funny hearing the donkey screaming. Very nice, a badger. Okay, well, that's enough animals. I'm just going to start with the content now. So, yeah, the Monaco weekend. Um, it was after a weekend where Max won a race again. And as a Max fan, I was quite hopeful that, Red Bull had found the biggest issues and solved most of them. And they were going to be good in Monaco. But Max already warned us up front that that it was going to be a lot harder in Monaco, because that track exposes the weaknesses of the Red Bull. And then the free practice sessions started on Friday, and we always know that the Red Bull always has trouble finding the right setup, and they always run in lower engine modes. So I wasn't too worried when in FP2 they were, or was it? Yeah, when they weren't right. Yeah, it was FP2 where they were 10th and 11th when they weren't right up there. Yeah, the free practice sessions. Charles Leclerc topped all of them, all 3 of them. That was quite a surprise, because I thought Ferrari was nowhere this whole season, but this is a track that probably suited them. And then Charles Leclerc being so good in Monaco, he was very good in the qualifying sessions, and the McLarens kind of went unnoticed most of the time. So I was very surprised that they were this good in qualifying, but we'll talk about that later. With Monaco being such a small track and so many rookies, and Lance Stroll on the track, obviously stuff is going to happen. Stroll was told that Gasly was approaching, and he decided to overtake somebody anyway. So Leclerc crashed into him, and he got away lightly with a 1 place grid penalty. And then he did it again during qualifying today, just completely blocking someone, and he got a 3 grid penalty for it, which didn't change his position at all, because Oliver Behrman overtook a car in a free practice session and got a 10-place grid penalty. Now, a lot of people found this very harsh, but when you hear it's a red flag, then you have to take down the speed a lot. And if a car in front of you pops up, you can't overtake. That's the whole point of a red flag. So I thought the penalty was just, but this could be a good poll. Poll. Was Behrman penalty fair or harsh? Hard. Okay. Thank you, Eddie, for calling that podcast decent. It's very fair. You know, it wasn't the best, but it was decent. Okay. Um. Do. Frans Verstappen. Eddie says so. Lance gets a one-place grid penalty for literally cutting someone off and creating crash, but Behrman gets a 10-place grid penalty for unintentionally overtaking somebody right as the red flag came. Okay, so I take it you're not in agreement with the penalty, but I thought the red flag was on quite a bit, and I was surprised at how fast cars still keep driving when it's a red flag, because during free practice sessions I put on this screen, I put on Max is on board, and on the big screen I have over there, my TV, I put on the normal feed. And yeah, if you're sitting inside the cockpit with Max and there's a red flag and you see him going through these little streets, it's still incredibly fast. But yeah, Behrman should have slowed down way more, and then he could have stopped behind the car instead of overtaking it. So I personally thought it was fair. So yeah, the Mercedes were nowhere, but I kind of thought that maybe in qualifying Russell would find something and go forward a bit. And yeah, I thought the McLarens were a bit messy in the free practice sessions. Piastri was sometimes third and sometimes fourth, and like Norris wasn't. Like, I'm not sure what the standings were in the free practice sessions, but I never had the idea that Max couldn't beat them or anything. But they were sort of sandbagging and building up their weekend, as they should, and I was quite impressed with that. So, yeah. Who's messaging me? Um, yeah, that's true, Tanvir, that he avoided a crash because of the proximity. But the point is that as soon as the yellows were waved, he should have slowed down. And then as soon as the red came in, he should have slowed down way, way more, especially on a um, tight little track like Monaco. And then, yeah, you saw that car and you swerved that around it, but you can't do that with a red flag because there could be marshals on the other side of the car, and you can say, yeah, that that's why they do the red flag just to neutralize everything. Yeah, Polish Eddie, I don't think they can make exceptions, and the next time Behrman, a rookie, is in a situation with a red flag, he'll slow down a lot, because this is a lesson he won't ever forget, and I think that's good. You know. But yeah, let's get into qualifying. I don't think there were big surprises in the first five that went out. Behrman was out. I think the two. Well, I can look it up. Okay, so the first 5 out was Colapinto. So far, he hasn't done anything to keep his seat. Um, at this stage, you could say put Doohan back in. Stroll. Um, wow, was Gasly out that early as well? P18. Yeah, and then Behrman in P17, but he's going to start last because of the 10th place grid penalty. Then Bortoleto, he was in P16, not bad, but and then Antonelli, he crashed, even though he was already in Q2. Yeah, it was such an easy mistake to make. You see it all the time with drivers that they clip a wall and then yeah, they're done for. He took the blame like a man. He said it was all on me. And then George Russell came to a halt in the tunnel, which was yeah, I was quite surprised. I even tweeted about it. Like, what has happened with the Mercedes reliability? You know, they used to go through seasons without any technical DNFs, and now last week in Imola it was Antonelli with a problem with his gears, and now just the whole car or the whole engine came to a stop. And I was wondering if this could happen to, say, a certain other team in using a Mercedes engine. Could it happen to perhaps a team in Papaya? That would not be so bad. But then again, I don't want to put karma on me, and see Max DNF tomorrow with a technical issue. So I take it back. Yes. But yeah, in the day, there used to be a time where the Mercedes engines were 100%, and McLaren didn't have any technical DNS last season, and I don't think they had to take any engine penalties either for taking new engines. So yeah, strong engines. So that was Q3. Let me see what I missed in the chat. Hey, there's Henry Wallace. Hello, Henry. The Haas chap on Instagram. Yeah, that was beautiful, and I loved Ocon's reaction in the car. Like he celebrated like he scored a pole. So Eddie agrees that Behrman has learned a lesson with his 10 grid penalty. And then there's Ayano, who I don't know how to pronounce it. Is it an L or an I? Lano. Yeah. Let me know how to pronounce it. But we had a nice little discussion on my post. I made a post with a qualifying prediction, a poll, and I picked Oscar Piastri, Max, Leclerc, and Russell. I left out Lando Norris. Guess who took pole? Lando Norris. Just shows you what I know. So, Eva says Behrman was complaining last week of his lap time under red flag not being counted. Yeah. Is he becoming a bit of a British moan? But anyway, Lano says, I think a red flag infringement should be a more severe punishment, to be honest. Yeah, I agree. And there's Silent Hour, and he's talking about Impida Pinto. Cola punto. Cola no punto. I have to be careful because I'll get the Argentinians on my head. even though I made friends with him last week with my video. And there's Christina. Hello, Christina. I'm sorry. Leclerc didn't get pole, but maybe he'll get Lando at turn 1, or he could do everybody a favor and take him out. So where was I? Lance was back to his old space out, and I don't pay attention where I'm going. No, he has the worst, what do you call it? Awareness, space awareness of all the drivers. Like I've seen compilations of Stroll just, I turn now. That guy came out of nowhere. What the hell is he doing there? Bumped into Daniel Ricciardo. He goes, that idiot just stopped. Oh dear. Yeah, so Henry, congratulations with the P8, and I hope he finishes there or thereabouts. Because Haas has been struggling a bit. So Polish Eddie says, how much you surprised that we have 6 technical for rookies and everyone got through quali without crashing? Well, Antonelli crashed, and so we didn't get through qualifying without crashing. Although it just happened at the end of the Q1 session. Oh, Henry Wallace is also on TikTok as the Haas chap. It's for all the 11 and 12 years old on the chat. Yeah, it's nice to see him back in Q3, Henry. And Alonso is still the best rookie. He was as giddy as a kid when he made it into Q3. That was lovely to see. But we're skipping bits. Oh, you're Ian. So where are you from, Ian? Are you from England or Ireland or the States or any other English-speaking countries? Let me know. Okay, it was harsh, but also completely fair, the penalty. Okay? Okay, good to know, Ian. Okay, I can finish this poll. Okay, 53% said fair. 46% said harsh. Fair enough. Ah, u spreekt ook Nederlands, maar dan met een Belgisch accent. Allee. Okay, let's go into Q2. In Q2, the drivers that went out were already Russell and Antonelli. So you'd think people getting into Q3 had an easier job because it was 2 drivers less to beat. Unfortunately, Nico Hulkenberg didn't manage it. But then again, he was already happy to be in Q2 in that green shitbox. And then in P12, we have Yuki Tsunoda, which is underwhelming. Now, I saw an interview with Max after the qualifying where he said that he had to take in a completely different line in Q2 to prevent losing more time. And I can imagine that Yuki Tsunoda couldn't do that. Now, I haven't seen the interviews yet because I heard Tsunoda was moaning about a few things as well. So I don't know if he was let out at the wrong time or that he had some traffic or something, that it was unfortunate. But then again, yeah, in a Red Bull where, yeah, Max is 6-7 tenths quicker, you know, you could be 3 tenths away from Max, I think. So yeah, it's still not working for that second seat in Red Bull, and it's gonna be a fight for Yuki to gain another point tomorrow. But we'll talk about race predictions later on. Then Carlos Sainz in Williams. I think the qualifying head-to-head is 4-3 in the favor of Albon now. And yeah, this is quite a gap with Albon. 111.70 to Albon. Oh no, the gap wasn't that big. It was only 700s with Albon. Yeah, so Carlos Sainz was the last one to get kicked out of Q3, which was unfortunate. Yeah, let's go to the chat. So what else happened in Q2? Anything special? No, I can't remember. Hello, Ian Russo. We have two Ians. We have Ian O and Ian R. And yeah. Welcome to my live stream, Ian Russo. And Ian O says, indeed, it's Flemish. Yeah, it's true. Hey, is Henk there? Hey, Henk, we missed you last week. The live stream's not the same when you're not here, Henk. Oh, and there's Lone Wolf. And he says he did better than Perez last year. But where did Perez qualify in Monaco last year? I don't remember. So long ago. And there's Jasper. Hulkenberg. That's nice. Ian's Unite. Yep. Tsunoda was a little disappointing, but he was 7 tenths behind Max. This is a fairly normal gap. Yeah, it was. Fairly normal. Okay, so let's go into the top 10. In 10, we have Albon. I think Albon expected a little bit more. Because he was flying at certain parts. You know, sometimes he was 5th, sometimes he was 4th. But yeah, it's still nice to be in Q3 with the Williams. But I think they expected a little bit more because the Racing Bulls all of a sudden were there. The Racing Bulls were nearly as good as the Red Bulls. Because in P9, we have Liam Lawson. Now, you know, this looked like a weekend where Liam Lawson was going to beat Hadjar. But the little Frenchman put it in P6. And with Lewis Hamilton's penalty, got promoted to P5. So, that's nice. So now I have to be careful where I put Lewis Hamilton. Because Lewis Hamilton qualified 4th. And you add 3, so he's 7th. Yeah. So in 7, we have Lewis Hamilton, who was very pessimistic before qualifying. And he said that they were going to be nowhere. But then, yeah, they kind of found pace. Everybody was kind of surprised with the Ferrari pace. I watch F1 Unchained, and I don't think he had any of the Ferrari drivers in the top 5 in his predictions. And Darren from Mr. Pulse, he was the same. He also didn't have any Ferraris qualified very high. So yeah, it was a surprise to many people. And then in P6, is Alonso. Fernando Alonso in that green, another green shit box. But you can just tell, you know, the Adrian Newey magic is starting to get sprinkled over the car. You know, this is what Lavier said in the podcast. I'm just gonna keep talking about my podcast because I want everybody to watch my latest podcast with Tomo and Lavier. So Ian's Jasper, make sure to check out my podcast. Okay, so in P4 we have Max. We'll talk later what he can do from P4 in the race. I think he's going to win, obviously. And then in P3 we have Piastri, who's beaten by Norris again in qualifying for... Oh no, last race he had pole, but now he's third. Charles Leclerc was gutted. I saw his interview and he could barely smile because Lando Norris beat him. And Lando Norris, everybody's given up on him. I given up on him. You know, he doesn't have the mentality, and he's always moaning, and yeah, he's only got, you know, he's either cheeky or he's depressed. But this qualifying, made no mistakes, put that fastest car on the pole spot. And it was a pretty good margin as well, you know, like it was more than a tenth. So yeah, impressed with Lando Norris. Let's go back to the chat. Okay, Eddie, see you later, buddy. Polish Eddie makes content as well. Go check it out. Pop that like button. Christina says, I still need for Charles to overtake Lando in the first corner and then let his strategist ruin his race so Lewis will get on the podium with Russell. That's fun. And Ian O says, I will, because I also am a fan of Law. And you're not a fan of Tomo? Because he's a real professional. Like, I'm very impressed with Tomo. Ian says Max is always moaning. Yep. And Tanvir says, I think Lando will bottle the start. Well, this is already going into the race predictions, but his start's been good this season, you know? And he hasn't had many poles. I think one. And he didn't ruin that pole, so... yeah. So, yeah, we're very lucky to get both of them on. And I just like the concept of that battle podcast. You know, they both pick a side, and then I'm still hoping to get two guys in there that don't really like each other, and then sort of really fight it out. You know, that it needs to be a little edgier. You know, that's what I want, and I want people to clip it and go, "Wow, did you see such and such and such and such fighting over Lewis Hamilton?" But yeah, I'm sure it will happen at some point. Yeah, I think we're ready to go into race predictions. Maybe we should talk about yeah, Christina has a really good point here. But Lando will have an angry Charles behind, and a pissed Charles is more dangerous than Max. Yeah, I also think that that Leclerc can fight with elbows out, and if Leclerc, you know, gets into a corner and he has his front axle the same place, and he and he can cut off the corner and cut off the driver, I think he'll do it. Hello, Becky Beautiful. Becky Beautiful is obviously Australian, and she wants Oscar to win. Yeah, I'm always careful with asking for crashes because it could backfire. Hank is doing the bottle smileys. No, Lando starts have been good. But no, what's really fascinating about this race is that it's going to be done with 2 pit stops. And the possible strategies are crazy, you know? Like, the people starting all the way in the back could do 1 lap, go into the pits, put on softs, drive 2 or 3 quali laps, put on hards, and never pit again. Even if safety cars or whatever come, you know, if safety cars come and people will need to dive into the pits, then, you know, it's free places. And if the race just pans out the way it does, then only the front runners will have enough of a gap to stay in front of them, you know? So this is definitely something Behrman and Stroll could do. Then for the guys in the middle, it's a little bit harder, but I can predict that if, say, a tiny group in the midfield starts to pit and a gap opens up, you know, like a 22, 23 second gap, then you'll see the front runners diving into that gap with their pit stops. And then as soon as one does it, the rest will follow because I think the what do you call it? The undercut is pretty strong in Monaco. So yeah, that'll definitely be interesting to see what happens there. And yeah, the front runners, they just have to wait it out, you know, because you can't be the first one to go and then get in, you know, somebody gets into a crash, a safety car appears, and all the front runners can do a pit stop before you, because then your whole race is gone. So there will definitely be victims of this 2 pit stop strategy. I've heard a lot of people, like professional people, say that that they should do it, but then with the pit lane closed off, which will prevent a lot of the chaos. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know what to think of it, you know. I'm just gonna start a poll. Is the 2 stop a good idea from the yeah. Just interested. So Hank says the strategies are hyped up. I'll just wait and see. Yeah. We have no say in it. Christina says, I cannot wait how many cars will do this strategy. No, it's definitely exciting. I haven't been this excited about a Monaco race in ages. Tanvir says, I think Lando might use a soft tire at the start and set a gap and then pit. Yeah, but the risk is that if he pits in, say, lap 5, that there still be cars in front of him, which will block his pace. And then, you know, the guys in front will make a bigger gap and overcut him. Another risk is if you take the pit stop first, then a safety car comes and everybody pits, and then they do it in 10 seconds instead of the 22 seconds it takes. So, I don't see Lando, if he stays in front, pitting first. I highly doubt that, but and Eva says, I seriously doubt we'll see any 20 plus second gap tomorrow. It's not going to happen. No, well, we don't know what Lando's pace is going to be in free air, but yeah. Like last year, we had that massive, massive crash between Checo and Kevin Magnussen. Yeah, that's what happened last year in Monaco. And that was a red flag, which promoted Carlos Sainz, who had a crash as well, back to P3 where he started instead of being all the way in the back. Hank says, I'm no strategist. It would be a disgrace if backmarkers could win due to the possible strategies. It would be kind of fun though as well, Bortoleto's first win, Monaco 2025. It's history. Ian O says, I'd rather they just change the rules to make it not possible to change tires under a red flag, to be honest. No, like I had discussions about that as well. It would have made Silverstone 2021 a lot different, because then Lewis would have DNF'd as well. Becky Beautiful says, how many safety cars will we see tomorrow? Oh, I can make a poll of that. Okay, 77% thinks it's a good idea to have the 2-stop. Okay. How many safety cars? Oh. Tomorrow. 1, 2, 3. None. Also possible. Okie dokie. Okay, where was I? Okay, here was I. Becky Beautiful. Yeah. Christina says, yeah. Ian says, I do agree the soft, medium, hard is the best option. Okay, in that order. I think the opposite. I think you should start on the hards. Just keep going, and just keep going and keep going and keep going. Just to see anything that happens. Then put on the medium for the middle stint. And then all the way towards the end, if you see a gap, put on the softs and race to the finish. And then overtake the second car. And then you win. Oh no, overtake the car in P1 and then you win. Yeah. Christina says, keep one pit stop, but for a bit, tire changes during the red flag. Yep. That's probably what they're going to do next year, if this is a kind of a success. Ian says, yeah, that's true. That's a good point on starting on the soft. Didn't think of that. That's why I'm not a strategist. Well, I'm not a strategist either, you know. I've heard that the McLarens have two sets of hards, so they could start on a hard, drive really long, put it on another set of hard, drive really fast and long, and then in the last short stint, put on softs for 5 laps and then win. Well, that's another good point, Aoife, that whenever there's an accident in Monaco, it's a straight up red flag. Like even for debris on the track. Yeah. Yeah, it goes from yellow to red. That's true. So, if the McLarens could do with two strategists, I think we stole Ferraris. Well, McLaren strategists and the Ferrari strategists, they do tend to make errors, but yeah, they might do it perfectly tomorrow. You know, there's so many options. There's too many options. So let me finish this poll, and then we're going to talk about who's going to win. Two people think no. 60% thinks two safety cars, and 30% says none. And there's people who think there's going to be three, and there's nobody that thinks it's going to be one safety car. Okay. Yeah, Christina, that's what I'm going to talk about now. I'm going to talk about who's going to win. I can't let anybody else win than Max, because that's just what I want so much, and it feels wrong to pick anybody else. So Hannah Smits, that beautiful, smart strategist that McLaren, that Red Bull has, she's just gonna cook something up, you know, in the moment, you know, because there's no point in making scenarios up front. Yeah, she'll talk to her, you know, the people back in Milton Keynes, and she'll cook something up. You know, Fortune was already with us when Lewis Hamilton got a grid penalty. That's one place. Then who knows? Something might happen up front with one of the three drivers. Nothing serious, just one of them needs a new wing or something. That's another spot that he picked off. Then smart strategy, good pit stops, and Max will find himself in the lead, and then yeah, he'll get a good enough gap to do another pit stop, and he'll stay in the lead, and he'll win Monaco. Because there's something else. What I noticed is that Max won in 2021, then he didn't win in 2022, then he won it in 2023, then he didn't win it in 2024. So now he's going to win it again. You know, he's winning it every other year. That's my theory. And you know the Leclerc curse, the Leclerc Monaco curse. You know, who says it's gone? I don't know. Like, he lost pole. Stroll made him crash into him. So that was unfortunate. Okay. Ferrari strategists tend to get more flack than the McLaren ones. Well, that's true, but the McLaren strategists, they get flack for not acting proactively enough, and they're so careful with their two number one drivers not to piss any one of them off that they make it hard on themselves. And then they have to defend themselves, especially to the British media, who always want Lando to win. I mean, they were so excited that Lando Norris got pole. Well, I was kind of excited too because I didn't expect it. But I don't know. They're just that tad more happy when there's an Englishman winning the pole. So, what was I going to say? Like Ferrari does these really odd things. Like, okay, you can box now. Oh no, Lewis is coming in. Stay out, stay out. That happened the last race, and we've seen that so many times. Just odd choices, you know, like the track is slippery and it's wet, and people are doubting whether to go on slicks or stay on inters, and they sent Charles Leclerc out on hards. I don't know what race that was. I think it was Canada last year, which was ridiculous. So yeah, Ferrari gets a lot more flack because they do a lot more silly things. And McLaren is just a little bit too careful to not piss any of their drivers off, and then they have to defend themselves in the press. Eva says, if a car gets stranded, they can hardly clear the track on their yellow flags or safety car. That's true. Ferrari is stopping, but the pit stop starts. Oh, Ferrari is topping the pit stop charts this season. That's a difficult thing to say. Pit stop charts. Pit stop charts. Charles is topping the pit stop charts. And Christina says, the curse is not gone. It's back with a vengeance. Eva says, lol. The enthusiasm for the Lando pole was real indeed. And Christina says, we do not speak about Canada 2024. And Ian says, I never celebrated a pole so much as today, to be fair. I think it was Lando's best lap ever. Yeah, I keep forgetting that Ian is a Lando fan. He's like a fangirl. And Lone Wolf says, let's hope I don't fall asleep this race and the extra pit stops will help. Well, last year it was a shambles because that red flag at the start of the race caused by Kevin Magnussen and Checo Perez caused everybody to pit and then to just finish the race in one go. So yeah, that was it was not good, and that's why they are trying something new. Okay, so let's make a poll about who's going to win. And this time I will include Lando in it. Who will win Monaco 2025? Lando Norris. Oscar Piastri. Max Verstappen. Charles Leclerc. Bloop. So let's see what the experts on my channel think about this question, and then we can compare tomorrow. Hank says, Ferrari got it wrong a lot in the public eye as a high-profile team. McLaren makes no decisions in the wind shadow of the Ferrari mess-ups. Oh my God, Eva, do you watch Indy 500 as well? I don't. I just stick to one series, otherwise I'll go mad. But I want to recommend a video if you like Indy 500. Josh Ravel uh, posted a video yesterday about an English driver who won Indy twice. I have to think of his name. I think his name is Dan Weldon. I have to look it up here. Yeah, Dan Weldon. Um, yeah, an English guy that couldn't make it into F1 and then went to America and went through all the junior IndyCar series, and then yeah, he became really good, and he drove for Ganassi and he drove for Andretti, and he left Andretti and they weren't happy, and yeah, then in 2011 there was this special race in Las Vegas, and I'm not going to spoil the ending, but it's a beautiful video, and I even tweeted about it that Josh Ravel is by far the best storyteller in the motorsport YouTube space. That guy can just, I just love how he changes the music. I have respect for the B-roll that he finds. I have respect for the way he presents. Like, it's no wonder that guy has like 400k subscribers, because he's just massive. I also had him on a podcast last season. He's a really nice guy as well. So yeah, that was me hyping. Um, oh, you've seen it, Aoife. Okay. Okay, well, Hank, go to Josh Ravel after this live stream and watch it. I can recommend it. Even if you don't like IndyCar, you can watch that video. It's really good. Okay, where was I? We're still talking about, yeah, who's going to win tomorrow. Has everybody voted? Because I'm going to click the poll now. I don't see the results yet. So half of you think Max is going to win. Then Charles, and then Lando. So Lando, starting from pole, only got one vote. Ian didn't vote. I haven't seen that video about Michel Mouton. How old is that one? Ah, you never vote when Lando's on pole. Very clever. I think I can sort of finish up here. So, everybody who hasn't seen my podcast with Tomo and Lovies, go watch it after this, or at your own leisure. You know. This week I'll have a video about what people in the paddock expect of the Spanish TD. I'm writing this video tomorrow morning and recording it tomorrow. And maybe I'll do a reaction video to what's happening tomorrow in the race. It's on YouTube, Ian. It's on my channel. I posted it yesterday. Yeah, Friday. Yeah, you can listen to it, Ian. That'd be great. And also, good job on working in a dog kennel. It's a noble job. Very good. Yeah, I was finishing off. So this is what I'm doing this week. And then next week at the same time, I'll be doing a live stream and we'll be in Spain and we can find out if the TD really had a big effect or not. And Barcelona is a completely different track. So I'm also looking forward to that. In the meantime, have a brilliant race tomorrow. I hope for everybody that your driver wins, as long as I can hope that my driver wins. And I wish you all the best. Take care now. Doei doei.